let's take a look at the calculation of basic and diluted earnings per share. Pajamas Corporation issued 4 million of 10-year 7% callable convertible subordinated debentures on January 2nd, 2020. The debentures have a face value of $1,000 with interest payable annually. The current conversion ratio is 14:1, and in 2 years it will increase to 18:1. At the date of issue, the bonds were sold at 98 to yield a 7.2886% effective interest rate. The bond discount is amortized using the effective interest method. Pajama's effective interest rate was 25%. Net income in 2020 was 7.5 million, and the company had 2 million shares outstanding during the entire year. For simplicity, ignore the requirement to record the debentures debt and equity components separately. And we're asked to prepare a schedule to calculate both basic and diluted earnings per share for the year ended December 31st, 2020. Okay, let's get started with that. So let's do basic earnings per share first. So we've got the net income of the company was, 7.5 million, and they had 2 million shares outstanding during the entire year. So this question is making it easy because there's no change in share capital. So we don't need to calculate the weighted average earnings per common share because they're just saying there's 2 million outstanding during the entire year, no change. So basic EPS, which is going to be net income minus preferred shares dividends divided by the weighted average common shares, which in this case is going to be 7.5 million, which is what net income was, divided by the 2 million common shares outstanding during the entire year. Oops. 2 million. This is going to give us $3.75 per share. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Now let's figure out this diluted earnings per share. So if the debentures are converted, what's going to happen? So we know that we need to do two things. We know that we need to change the net income because we need to take into account the fact that if the debentures were converted, we would no longer have paid interest on them during this year. And we also need to take into account the change in the number of shares that would happen from the exercise of the debenture. So let's start with the change to net income. So we're told that the debentures were, the bonds were sold at 98, and the debentures have a face value of $1,000. And it says Pajamas issued 4 million, 10%, 10-year. 7% callable bonds. They have a face value of $1,000, with interest payable annually. At the date of issue, the bonds were sold at 98 to yield this effective interest rate. Okay, so let's start with that. So let's say potential conversion of debentures. So the carrying value is going to be 4 million times 98, which is going to equal 3.920 million. Okay, so that's the carrying amount. So now what's the interest expense? So this question's a bit tricky because sometimes it gives us the interest expense or sometimes it says that they were sold at par. But here they're telling us that they were sold at a discount. So we know that they were sold at 3.9 even though the face value of them was 4 million. And we're told that we use the effective interest method. So normally we would have set up our effective interest table to calculate out the interest on this bond. Now the writers of this question have been nice and have given us the effective interest rate, so we wouldn't have to calculate that out with our financial calculator. So the way that we calculate the interest under IFRS using the effective interest method is we take the carrying value of the bond and we multiply it by the effective interest rate to get interest expense. So remember that in diluted EPS questions, we're looking for the interest expense, not the actual cash payment to investors. So we wouldn't just take the 4 million of the bond and multiply that by the coupon rate, which is 7%. Rather, we need to be using the effective interest rate. So that's what the investors will receive is 4 million times 7%. However, that is simply the cash payment. And if you recollect from our previous chapter on bonds, that is the amount of cash that the investor receives, but the interest expense also takes into account the fact that we need to increase the value of those bonds on our statement of financial position back to the 4 million at the face value. So we're also amortizing through that discount. So they've given us this the effective interest rate here, and this is what we're going to use to calculate out the interest expense, which is the number that we need for the potential conversion of the bond on our income statement. So we're going to multiply this carrying value times the effective interest rate method, the effective interest rate, which we were told, which is 7.2886. 7.2886%. And that is going to give us 285,713. Now, is that enough? Is this the impact on our income statement? 285,713. We need to remember one additional thing. We're changing net income here. Net income is after tax. So we need to take into account the tax effect. So the best way to do this, I believe, is to say 1 minus the tax rate and multiply it by that. So the tax rate that we were given was 25%. So if we go 1 minus 25%, we're going to get 75%. So if we take 285,713 and multiply it by 75%, we're going to get the after-tax value of 214,285. And this is the change to net income. Right? Remember, it's net income, so it's after tax. So we had to take into account this tax rate. So we'll multiply this by that 75. So 285 times 75, which is 1 minus the tax rate, gives us an after-tax savings of $214,285. Now, why is it a savings? Because if these debentures were converted at the beginning of the year, which is our assumption under the what-if method, again, they weren't converted, but they could have been. So if they were converted at the beginning of the year, we would not have to pay out the interest on the debt because now it would be equity where we don't pay out interest on them. So we would have had this expense in our income statement reflective of the net income that we were given in the question because the company would have had to deduct this interest expense on this debt. But if it had been converted into equity, then the company would not have incurred that cost. So we're adding it back. We're going to add it back to net income. So now we've got the impact on net income. Now let's figure out what the adjustment is to the common share number. So how many common shares are going to be added when this is converted? So we've got the $4 million face value. This is the 4 million, but each debenture had a face value of 100,000. So how many debentures is that going to be? Let's just say here, number of debentures. So we're going to have 4 million divided by $1,000 face, which is going to give us 4,000 debentures, not 4,000 shares, but 4,000 debentures. And then we need to figure out what the ratio is. What are they going to be converted at? Well, this is another interesting point because in the question, they give us two different conversion ratios. They say the current conversion ratio is 14:1, and in 2 years, it will increase to 18:1. So what ratio are we going to use? Well, because in the what if method, we're always looking at the worst case scenario, we're going to use the ratio of 18:1. Even though it's not applicable for 2 years, which I think is kind of tricky because it couldn't happen this year. But regardless, we're just going to use the worst case scenario ratio. So because they eventually could be converted 18:1, we're going to convert them at 18. So that means for every debenture, you can get 18 common shares. So if we take 4,000 times 18, which is the conversion ratio, of 18:1. So you have one debenture, you get 18 common shares. That means we're going to be adding 72,000 common shares. Okay, so now we need to figure out, now is this going to dilute our earnings? Because we're adding this back to net income and we're adding this many common shares. We can just do a quick calculation to say, is this dilutive? What if it wasn't dilutive? What if it caused our earnings per share to go up? We would not recognize it then. We're only interested in diluted earnings per share, which means that it's going to decrease our earnings per share. So if we just do a quick calculation just to see, if we say, okay, so our net income is going to change by 285,000, 214,285 right here, and our common shares are going to increase by 72,000, just looking at the changes to the formula rather than the formula itself, that's going to give us $2.98. And what was our earnings per share before? Our basic earnings per share was $3.75. So this is less than $3.75, which is our basic EPS, which means, yes, it is dilutive. Which means now we need to actually calculate the real diluted earnings per share. This was really just a test to say, if this was going to give us $4 somehow, then we would not proceed. We would say it's not dilutive. We're not going to recognize it because $4 would be a higher earnings per share than the $3.75 in the basic. But we can clearly see that it's going to result in a lower earnings per share, which means it is dilutive. So now let's do the full calculation. Diluted earnings per share. So we're going to have net income, adjusted net income, let's say, minus preferred share dividends divided by adjusted weighted average common shares. So we're going to have our adjusted net income that we calculated here is going to be, so 2.5 million. So we're going to have our original net income, of course, plus 2.5, that's a zero, 2.5 million plus this 214,285 that we identified that we would save if we didn't have to pay the interest out on those debentures, 214,285. Note we're adding it to net income. Net income is going to be higher, minus our preferred share dividends, which are zero. We don't have any. And then we're going to divide it by our additional securities. So remember, we still have our 2 million shares outstanding, but now we have an additional 72,000 from the conversion of that debt. Remember, we calculated the 72,000 here with the 18:1 conversion ratio. So now once we run through this math, we are going to get earnings per share or diluted earnings per share of $3.72. And $3.72 is lower than our original basic earnings per share of $3.75. So you can see that there is an offset of the two benefits because, of course, we're adding net incomes higher and we're increasing the weighted average number of shares. So it doesn't necessarily dilute it by as much as it originally seems. 372 to 375 isn't a large difference. But the important part is that our diluted earnings per share is lower than our basic earnings per share. So it would have to be presented in the financial statements. Again, what would happen if we did this math and we ended up at $4? And our basic earnings per share were $3.75, then we would write a note and say, this is anti-dilutive, and therefore therefore diluted earnings per share, therefore it wouldn't be disclosed. Okay, so we've got this one. Now it says, discuss how the schedule would differ if the security were a convertible preferred share. If the convertible security were preferred shares, our basic EPS would have to deduct the preferred share dividend entitlement because it's cumulative. Even if it wasn't declared, if it was cumulative, we would have taken it off here. So we would have had a lower basic EPS. And then we would have need to really test and make sure that the impact of the dilution of the debenture was dilutive. Again, just making sure that our diluted earnings per share is always lower than our basic earnings per share. Okay. And then next it says, assume that Pajamas Corporation experienced a substantial loss instead of income for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2020. How would you respond to the argument made by a friend who states, the interest expense from the conversion of the debentures is not actually saved, and there is no income tax to be paid on the additional income that is assumed to have been created from the conversion of the debentures? So what this is saying is that if you have a loss, you won't have any income tax because you don't pay income tax on a loss. And it's also saying that because you have a loss, then you're not saving the interest expense. And I think that what our response to this would be is that although the amount of interest is not actually saved, the reduction of the interest from a dilution perspective, a what if scenario, would reduce our loss because everything that we're adding to our expenses is increasing our loss on our income statement. So if we're adding back the interest on the debentures because we're assuming that they were converted into equity and therefore we didn't have to pay out that interest expense, it would reduce our loss. So even though it's not generating income, it's still a benefit to the company that it's reducing the loss. And it still would have to be reduced net of tax because from an income tax perspective, which we'll talk about in the next chapter, you can carry forward a tax loss into future periods. So because the loss would be lower, we would be able to carry forward less of that loss. We have a lower tax loss to carry forward. So therefore, we would still need to take into account the savings or the reduction of the interest and also the fact that we don't save dollar for dollar, we save it net of tax. That concludes this question.